President Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived in the UK. During the visit, he will meet British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and King Charles III and will also address British Parliament. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane. The new day brought us new challenges. New hard things need to be explained in easy terms, here on UATV channel. Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Great Britain was not announced in advance for obvious security reasons. In addition to meetings with the Prime Minister, the King and the parliamentarians, the Ukrainian President will also meet with our military, who are currently undergoing training in Great Britain. Zelenskyy will also meet with Defence Minister Ben Wallace and other defence and security leaders to discuss details on expanding the training program for Ukrainian fighters. It has already become known that Britain will provide NATO fighters for the training of our pilots.
The United Kingdom was one of the first to come to Ukraine's aid, and today I'm in London to personally thank the British people for their support and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak for his leadership. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, on Facebook.
Also, today Volodymyr Zelenskyy goes to France for meeting with Emmanuel Macron and Olaf Scholz. And tomorrow, Ukrainian President will speak in the European Parliament, where one of the topics will be the Ukraine-EU summit, which took place last Friday. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Charles Michel came to Kiev despite the war. The EU leaders reaffirmed that the process of Ukraine's European integration is irreversible and that Ukraine will become an EU member with accession talks to possibly start already this year. If you have ever found it hard to grasp why this process is irreversible, let me wrap up this hard thing in easy terms for you. It will happen because it's de jure, natural. De facto, Ukraine already is Europe. Ukraine is Europe because without any reverence, we are fighting for it and literally are dying on an actual battlefield. And that simple fact alone makes us Europe.
We have one clear message. And that is, yes, Ukraine deserves European perspective. Yes, Ukraine should be welcomed as a candidate country. This is on the understanding that good work has been done, but important work also remains to be done.
I'll take the personal liberty to say more. Europe needs us, Ukraine. We are the new blood spilled on a real battlefield for European values and ideals. This is why we are Europe. And so we change ourselves accordingly. Even amid Russian aggression, we never forget to reform, and the European Union positively assessed our reform pace. Again, no reverence or arrogance, a straightforward fact. The European Union noted and acknowledged Ukraine's considerable efforts to meet the objectives underpinning our candidate status for the EU membership. Europe welcomes Ukraine's reform efforts during such difficult times and encourages Ukraine to continue on this path. And we will continue.
We want to create a detailed roadmap on how to go through the path of European integration as quickly and successfully as possible, from the evaluation of the work we have done after receiving candidate status to the start of substantive negotiations of Ukraine's accession to the EU.
At the summit, the Union officially endorsed Ukraine's peace formula and agreed to provide specific assistance in its implementation. And it's also about the simple logic. Peace comes not with a ceasefire, as Putin and all his sidekicks Kissingers would very much want it. No. We never started this war, but we will be the ones to end it in our favor. Peace is not what Russia calls peace. Whatever the Kremlin calls peace is in fact war, destruction and disaster. For 25 years, Putin had it all. Prosperity, absolute power, and the nation that accepted any, and I mean any, his decision. From temporarily yielding a throne to a puppet Medvedev to adjusting the constitution to his own needs. And what? How did he dispose of all this incredible wealth and literally a magical combination of circumstances? While Moscow and St. Petersburg lives in abundance, the rest of Russia is the manifestation of poverty. Scratch its layer of Moscow City Novorish oligarchic mindset gilding, and you will see a decline instead of development, a militant aggression instead of the true patriotism, aggressive imperial ideology instead of a democratic society, a state plundering as a way of life for the entire Putin's elite, a plundering in a scales so mind-boggling, and a plundering that is so confident in its own impunity that it has become the law. Now, these are real achievements of Putin I during his usurping reign, resulting in a criminal warfare against Ukraine.
Россия живет прошлым, потому что
Russia lives in the past because there is nothing to be proud of. There is not and will not be a more or less sane picture of the future, and therefore they live in the past.
So, in order to make this Putin's warfare his last one, the common European task is to reduce Russia's ability to bypass the sanctions imposed earlier. So the European summit also saw discussions around the new 10th package of sanctions against Russia. It was agreed that the sooner and better these talks are completed, the closer we all, as a civilized world, will be to defeating Russian aggression. This is exactly why the summit was held in Ukraine's capital, Kiev. It was a clear demonstration that Russia will not be able to scare or break either the Ukraine or Europe. We are Europe. We are European values, and we are a European cultural space, and we will work together to overcome any obstacles and strengthen our close partnership and integration, exactly the way it is done in Europe, in a European way. The Kremlin was expecting that the Russian army would be met here in Ukraine with flowers. Seriously. That was their plan. Like, we are waiting for them here. Well, in a certain sense, we actually are waiting for them. The Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine has started the formation of offensive guard assault brigades. Yes, official guerrilla brigades. Only volunteers can become part of them. The basis of the new brigades are officers and soldiers who have considerable combat experience. Ukrainians can join the offensive guard by submitting an application form on the site or by submitting it through design centers. Volunteers can independently choose the brigade to which they want to join.
There are 6 brigades in the National Guard, 1 in the National Police and 1 so far in the State Border Guard Service. The set will last 60 days. This is not a constant process. We conduct an interview, a military medical examination, check the physical and mental abilities and conduct special checks with each volunteer. Also, those individuals who are about to serve cannot have criminal records. Igor Klimenko, Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine.
In case you, dear world, were wondering, what is the difference between Ukrainian and Russian mentality? That at first glance could seem quite close, especially if you talk no Russian nor Ukrainian. Here it is. Serving in Ukrainian army is a privilege, inaccessible to those who previously broke the law. Serving in Putin's army is a grim necessity based on the desire of imprisoned criminals to break free at any cost, even through Wagner PMC. Our armed assault brigades act for only one reason: we want back what's ours. Putin's mercenaries' goal is to destroy what's Ukrainian. The Russian military has a well-deserved reputation of brutality. Putin crushed the Chechen insurgency using extreme violence, that including tortures and murdering civilians. The United Nations report found that Russians bombed civilians during the Syrian civil war. Russia has adopted the same tactic here in Ukraine. With the front lines frozen, it has been targeting civilian infrastructure, especially the electrical grid. By denying them heat, electricity and water, the Russian Tsar hoped to break the will of the Ukrainian people and compel us to sue for peace. That didn't work, as you have probably already noticed. Our morale is high and will remain so, also due to your help, dear world.
Breaking! The first Leopard 2 has arrived in Kyiv. There will be more of them. Thank you to Bundeskanzler, my colleague Boris Pistorius and the German people. The tank coalition is marching to victory.
Studies show that Russian forces are particularly vulnerable to partisan warfare. Poorly trained and ill-equipped conscripts suffer from low morale, fear of guerrilla attack by irregular fighters intimately acquainted with the terrain, and enjoying popular support exacerbates that problem. Poor logistics have plagued the Russian army since the beginning of this warfare. Our forces exploit this weakness. In August, an elite Ukrainian unit blew up an ammunition dump behind enemy lines in Crimea. That same month, partisans carried out a successful attack on a Russian airbase in Crimea. Our partisans have set booby traps, sabotaged rail lines, and assassinated traitors collaborating with the Russians. They have also provided our forces with valuable targeting intelligence. As Ukrainian forces advanced to liberate Kherson, resistance fighters carried out attacks and provided reconnaissance for the liberators. One group posted photos of Russian soldiers on its Telegram channel with the tagline, "We're watching you." The group also hung a banner that boldly declared, "If the HIMARS can't reach you, a partisan will." Having said that, I wanted now to send an important message to Russian commanders who might for some reason be watching us tonight. That means that I will probably give out a secret plan of our army leadership, but I will do it anyway, whatever that is a cost for me. So, Russian occupiers, consider it said on behalf of all of us, our elite forces that blew our bridges in Crimea, remember? Our army, our president, our beautiful women, our families, our children, on behalf of all of us, the Ukrainians. The plan of our army is to show you, the Russian occupiers, that you are not at home here in Ukraine. You can try to settle down. You can try to sleep comfortably, but you will be watched at all times. And you will be watching over your shoulder every hour or every day while you walk our lands with guns in your hands. Our plan is to make your presence here unbearable. So those of you who will be lucky to return home alive and in one piece will envy those who remain in the Ukrainian soil forever. It was Henry Keane on UATV channel explaining some hard things in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Stay safe and tune for more.